The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to the Eliminate eDiscovery Bottlenecks, How to Leverage Technology to Improve ESI Collection and Processing webinar. This webinar will be hosted by Jim McGann. Jim is the Vice President of Marketing at Index Engines and has extensive experience with eDiscovery and information management in the Fortune 2000 sector. He's a frequent writer and speaker on topics of big data, backup tape remediation, electronic discovery, and records management. Please type any questions for Jim in the question area on the right of your screen, and he will answer them at the end of the webinar. So let's begin. Jim?
Thanks, Jen. Appreciate the introduction. Thanks, everybody, for joining today. If you do have questions, I'll try to take them real time as we're going through today's session. If I don't have a chance to get you an answer, what I will do is I will get them as a follow-up via email to you directly. So today we're talking about ESI bottlenecks. We talked to a lot of our clients, which are service providers, as well as end-user customers that are doing eDiscovery. And a lot of their bottlenecks are very common in terms of what they face in terms of managing electronically stored information, or ESI. In there, we kind of bucket into two areas. In the area of collection, a lot of the challenges they face is really going on-site and dealing with the end-user environment. So, dealing with the IT organizations at these large organizations, connecting into their network, being able to find data and manage data and extract either mailboxes or extract content is a huge pain point that we see out there. Also seeing the challenge of large collections. We've had clients that are collecting data that is in the large numbers of terabytes, tens or hundreds of terabytes of content out there, especially when you're dealing with old legacy data. So dealing with large collections is also a bottleneck, and processing that content. And even if you're really managing, managing to find responsive data set that's in the gigabytes, hundreds of gigabytes, you may still need to process hundreds of terabytes to get there. And then defensibility and accuracy. I mean, the partners that we have today are seeing more and more pressure from their clients to really attest to the accuracy and defensibility of the process. So we're seeing a lot of challenges of larger, more complex environments where the service providers are required to do it in a more defensible and accurate process. Beyond collection, there's the culling and processing, which usually occurs back at the lab. We see a lot of the frustration exists when you're collecting large data sets and waiting for the data to be indexed so you can start doing your work. So if you're bringing back terabytes of data into your lab, having to process that and index it so you can start the culling and tagging and search process is just time wasted, because the time you're waiting before you can actually get the real work done. Multiple data sources, multiple tools. I mean, if you're processing and collecting data from different sources like email, for example, Exchange, you can be using tools like Power Controls or Xmerge, using tools like capture from forensic images. You could be using things like Encase or Access Data, collecting data from hard drives, collecting data from backup tapes, collecting data from online networks. So using different tools to collect data from different sources, you basically end up collecting data in multiple times using multiple tools that need to be defended. And then the issue of collaboration and access. The more we see customers working with their clients, they want to be able to understand what's going on, to take a view into the data early, be able to understand the entire process and do some early case assessment and see the content. So I think we're seeing a lot of these issues commonly faced by a lot of our partners and clients. So in terms of ESI Collection, what we offer here is really a high-speed identification tools, and the goal really is to reduce the amount of time spent in the field, and to be able to get in, get out very quickly using high-speed identification and collection. We announced earlier this year a portable collection engine. So the fact that you can take the Index Engine technology, the Octane technology in the field using this portable box. And we have a number of solutions here. This is just one example of one of the boxes that we offer. It's a portable server that's designed to connect to clients' environments. It's got all the connections it needs on the back end. The nice thing about this is you can predefine your collection policies. So setting this up in your lab, you can define everything from mailboxes to file types to date ranges to keywords. Within the policies, pre-configure that without being in the customer's infrastructure inside their firewall. Set it up, then take it on site, plug into the different data sources, and the ESI will automatically be captured based on that query. So as you plug it in, you can run those predefined collection policies, and it's captured. And the nice thing about it is it's automatically captured within the collection engine. There's no need to return to the lab for further processing. So there's a forensically sound image of the content that's captured onto the box, whether it be email or files or full PSTs or full Exchange environments. Whatever it may be or whatever you require, you can capture. And typically you would use this to overcollect content with the idea that you may need to change queries or change requests and so on. You can also keep this box in the field. So as you're going through the project with your customer, having this in the field will allow you to go in and get remote access to this box and update the queries, update the collection requests. And high-speed indexing. So again, you see a lot of numbers out there in terms of speed. We do have technology that can reach speeds up to a terabyte per hour. It really depends on the environment that you're connected to. But one of the key advantages of the Octane platform is you can have multiple streams of indexing happening in parallel, whereas most every other tool out there is really going to do a single stream index, which is going to really be bottlenecked by the networks and so on. So we do have customers that run at these speeds. Even running at half the speed is significantly faster than the technology that exists out there today. We have technologies that are running a terabyte per day, which is considered high speed. If you can get a terabyte or even half a terabyte an hour, you're way ahead of the game. So the comprehensive aspect to the Octane platform really allows you to improve your accuracy. A lot of our clients are ingesting ESI from different sources, as I mentioned. So one of the key aspects to the Octane platform is that whether you're pointing to network sources, desktops, email, forensic images, or even backup tapes, it's the same platform that will connect to those environments. So the single pass aspect of what's done here is that as you scan across those environments, you can collect ESI, responsive ESI. Once the responsive ESI is collected, say you've collected it from a network environment, and it's seen again on a backup tape, that ESI won't be duplicated. It won't be collected twice. It will be collected once. So the Octane engine actually keeps track of what's already been collected, and using a single pass across multiple media sources, it'll collect that data once. We also see a lot of our clients have been really, when they're doing collection, especially going on site, they've been limiting themselves to collecting specific custodian mailboxes. So they'll go out there and collect a dozen or 2 dozen mailboxes without really understanding the content or where other sources may exist, and taking that back to their lab for processing. So with the Octane platform, you can do any kind of query on file types, keywords, dates, and so on. So you can find responsive ESI not only within specific mailboxes, but you can find it without specifying a location. So, finding email, we've had, one client where they were spending years in an investigation trying to find the smoking gun email by selecting custodian mailboxes. The actual smoking gun email was eventually found using the Index Engine's technology. It was found in an intern's mailbox that was a temporary worker, and it had been deleted out of the other mailboxes, and it was really the key piece of evidence that they needed in the case. So the fact that they used Index Engines and did a wider query across a larger environment allows them to find all the responsive ESI that could exist in PSTs, for example, in other custodian mailboxes, custodians that are not part of the request. So you can see, providing that level of service to your customer, saying, these were the requested custodian mailboxes. However, this also responsive email in these other locations may help them in their pursuit of accuracy. So the key point here is that using the ability to just query across multiple locations, you can find responsive ESI in a variety of places, and not just immediately limiting it to specific mailboxes by selecting those mailboxes for further processing. A lot of automation is built into the interface. You can predefine these collection queries. So you can set up these, the queries. Here's a date range and some specific file types like documents in the interface. You can set them up, and you can see the query here in the query language, and you can set it up and store it. Giving it any name, you can give it a project name, and so on. So you can run those queries as the engine is installed in the field. So again, a lot of our clients are using this to predefine the queries, and as the data sources, media sources are connected, whether it be an Exchange environment or network environment or offline sources like forensic images or backup tapes, the responsive content will automatically be preserved and pulled from extracted from its original environment. Remote access is a big thing. I mean, clients have a lot of tools that they have in place that are Windows-based or desktop-based tools that really aren't really accessible to remote or third-party professionals. So, a lot of the requirements we see is the ability to collaborate with specialists or collaborate with clients or collaborate with the legal teams. And because the interface here within the Octane platform is a secure browser-based interface, it allows for this distributed access to the content. And more importantly, we have a notion of user profiles, which I'll talk about a little bit more in depth in a few slides, that allows you to segment the data set so you can specifically run some queries in here and define a subset of the data set and assign it to a specific user, a secure access user, that when they log in, they will only see access to that specific data set. So you can collaborate very easily with third parties by giving them remote access through a browser-based interface through HTTPS secure access. Give them a login, and they'll be able to see access to a specific data set to be able to help review, do some early reviewing and tagging of the data. It's great for early case assessment or early data assessment, as we say in our next slide. So, not only in the early data assessment, again, you look at the data, but you can also look at reports. And you can see an example here in the interface of some reports saying maybe you've done a specific query, keyword query about a date range query, and the reports may want to say, well, which owners have data that satisfy these requests. And you can kind of look at the data set and analyze it, review it, and look at it to refine specific collection policies. And again, this allows extreme collaboration with any kind of specialist. If you've got people in your organization that are distributed throughout the world, they can look at real-world information and help make decisions. And the nice thing about this too is it can be done using the portable collection engine, so that as you're out in the field and you're on site, you can maybe look at the data, analyze it, and refine your queries and make some changes in your queries before the collection engine leaves the customer site, so you can know that you have access to that level of knowledge, and you can in real time change any of those requests. The forensically sound aspect of the Octane platform is pretty key, and when you're looking at a full data set, so say you've gone on site and you've connected to an Exchange environment, maybe nodes, PSTs, forensic images, backup tapes, regardless of what it is. Using the Octane platform, you can execute a query that's specific content, so it could be a keyword query, it could be a metadata query, it could be a combination of the two, it could be a custodian mailbox selection. And what will happen is within the Octane platform, the responsive data will be extracted into a preservation archive, and the content that's preserved is extracted at a bit level. So the key component here is that there's no data conversion. So for email, so say you're extracting email from a PST or from an Exchange database, whether it be a custodian mailbox or whether it be specific emails, that data will be preserved in the Octane platform in its original bit level format and not converted to EML or MSG formats. So if your customer is concerned about defensibility and spoliation of data, this will give them the confidence that the data hasn't been changed whatsoever. And the key aspect of this is once you've captured this data, so if you captured this in the portable collection engine, for example, you can take it off the customer site back to your lab, and you can extract the native data from that environment, emails and files, without ever going back to the customer site. So you can break this connection here and just work within the collection data set to be able to extract specific ESI and content as needed. So, I mean, the traditional workflow versus the Octane workflow, I think, you know, if you face with a collection that entails lots of different data sources, both online sources like servers, which could be used for files, email like Exchange databases, PSTs, NSF databases, or offline sources like forensic images, hard drives, even backup tapes. You know, we do have a strong reputation for processing backup tapes very cost effectively, but again, we can process a wide range of data sources. It's not just backup tapes anymore. The key thing that a lot of our clients had been doing is what they need to do is get, you know, get the refined data set process. So using servers, they were using, you know, broad set of data grab tools, really working with IT organizations to collect data. For email, they were using, you know, mailbox extraction tools to extract the PSTs. For forensic images, they were using specialized tools to extract data. Hard drives, they were extracting all the data to disk. Backup tapes, they were using really a lot of third-party services to extract data out. And they would end up creating 5 different, you know, or multiple different data sets here of the content. So it's really unprocessed, raw, duplicate data, 95% of it being irrelevant. So it's the idea is that they're really, in this phase, what they're doing is doing a data grab and grabbing and collecting everything that they could possibly collect. And what happens here is that in this stage here, you're faced with massive volumes of data that's really kind of, you know, it's duplicate, it's redundant, it hasn't been cleaned up, and, you know, 95% of it being irrelevant. Then they have to process and index that content, then do the filtering and deduplication, do some culling, tagging, and report on it, and they finally get down to their responsive data set, which then gets passed to review. So what we're talking about with the Octane platform is that you could have those same data sources and layer the Octane platform on top of it and immediately set up your ability to identification and collection policies in there. Set it up in the you know, in Octane, so as you connect it to these data sources, you'll have a single pass across all of these environments, all 5 if you're in that situation where you have to process from all 5 environments. Could be 2, could be 1, could be 3, and it'll identify the data, index it, dedupe it, cull it. You can report on it, and then collect and extract in one pass. So you can go through it and analyze it, look at it, and before you do any migration or extraction of the data from these sources, you know, refine it to the point where you get it down to the responsive set immediately. So you can see here is what we're doing is eliminating, you know, this extraction of all these different data sources into a large, you know, network share in your lab to be able to start processing, and we can go straight to processing off the original source and get a responsive data set much more quickly. So it's a pretty dramatic change in workflow, to understand, but it really saves significant time and significant resources. So the products that we have today, it really is the fastest indexing platform on the market today. I mean, you'll hear things from other vendors stating the fastest on the market today, but this is full content and metadata indexing, not just metadata only, and we're hitting speeds of a terabyte, up to a terabyte an hour, and with our new platform, we're actually surpassing that, getting to almost 1.5 terabytes per hour. So you'll see a lot of speed announcements from us coming up in the near future. But the ability to identify, collect, preserve, and process data. So we're focused very much left side of the EDRM. We don't have review capabilities, but we do have connectors to review platforms. So we break it down in a few products. Again, the whole workflow is talking about can be broken down, and you can buy pieces of it to integrate into your environment. So we're very flexible in terms of how the product integrates into your existing lab. We know you're using lots of different tools. So if there's pieces of those, your process in your environment that are not working very well, we could look at solving those components. But on the collection engine, again, is the first piece of the workflow is the ability to connect to enterprise data sources. And it supports network data, email, backup tape data, evidence files. So it's flexible that you can connect to any one of these environments. And we have 2 versions here. We have a portable version, which is really for installation at the client site. And then we have a server-based version, which would sit permanently more in your lab. And that's really an environment where the customer has really kind of done most of the collection for you and is delivering you maybe hard drives or tapes or forensic images and so on. The second piece of it is the processing engine, which is really the ability to do culling and filtering on the data. It's deduplication, denisting, and filtering content. And then beyond that is a preservation and hosting engine. So within the Octane platform, you can preserve all responsive ESI. You can also host it. So again, that browser-based interface comes into play here, where your customer can remotely log in and access their data and look at it at any time in order to do some tagging or some culling or some reporting on that content. And obviously can be extracted. So the customer can go in and tag content, analyze it, and then put a request in to extract it out of your preservation archive. Also, we have cloud services available. So a lot of our partners are full-service eDiscovery service providers that provide a lot of value-added services. We don't compete with them. What we do is really provide the ability to access data. So we're really just getting data off of media sources, and we don't do the value-added services that our partners do. So we actually provide cloud services for quite a few of our partners as a complementary service when they get certain projects that are larger scale that they would need some complementary assistance to. So we have a secure processing facility. We provide data extraction services only. The way it works is you would send media to our lab, whether it be backup tapes, hard drives, any portable media. The data is processed and indexed, and we contact you, and providing a secure web-based interface, you can do remote culling and tagging, and then based on what's been tagged, we would extract that out and deliver that to you. So it's a pretty convenient and cost-effective way of just getting data off tape or data processed so you can provide your value-added services on top of it. So this is the products and how they fit within the EDRM workflow. So if you can see here on top, you can see the EDRM process from identify, collect, preserve, process, review, and analysis. So again, the different sources, and again, we can connect to all different sources here on the left, both online sources and offline sources, network data, desktops, and so on. And then you have really in the collection phase, you've got three different choices within the Octane platform. You can use the on-site collection engine, so you can take a box on your customer site. It's a portable box, same technology as our core technology, and connect it to their infrastructure. So that's really used mostly within the online source environment. There's a server-based engine, which is our discovery engine, which could plug into your lab. It's a server-based, permanently deployed indexing engine that would plug into your environment. And then there's the cloud-based version, which I mentioned earlier. So if you wanted us to do some of the processing for you, we could do that. So three different ways to execute collections out there using the Octane technology. At this point, the ESI is collected. You can start pre-processing it, which is deduping it and denisting it, which could happen automatically upon collection, culling it, and setting up scheduled, automated collection policies and so on. So a lot of our customers may just be using us for processing, say, of backup tapes using the Octane discovery engine, and may use that to extract out to disk and be done with it, and then or extracted it, to be used to extract into their existing infrastructure. So again, not leveraging the full depth of the Octane platform, but using it as a tool to be able to identify, collect, and extract a responsive ESI. In that case, it's a very high-speed time to data, really accelerating the process of identifying and collecting content. If you want to use the full spectrum of the product, there's a preservation archive that's available that as you start pre-processing and collecting it, you could hold it into this archive. It's a forensically sound copy. You have full access to manage it, further cull it, review it, understand exactly what's there, and do detailed processing of the data. And then in terms of the review and analysis phase, you can extract the native data to disk. You can extract load files and CSV metadata reports out to disk. We have direct integration into Relativity today that's available today. We also have CSV load files that are available for export into other review and analysis tools. And the load file can contain all the metadata as well as the full text content of the files and emails and attachments. So if you're just using it into some predictive coding or some some analytic tools, you can get all the data that you need. And in the case of using the full platform there, it's a very unified, auditable, defensible paper trail that it provides a very cost-effective approach towards culling and preserving and managing large volumes of data. Okay. So in terms of the processing, so once you've gotten past, we've talked a lot about collection, so collection has been a big pain point here. In terms of the processing phase, the goal really here is to speed time to review, support large-scale environments, integrate with the field collection engine. So if you use this portable collection engine to collect data in the field and bring it back into your lab, you can migrate all that content to our processing engine to continue the processing and culling and management of that data. And the key aspects are intuitive culling and analysis interface and a very defensible process. So we're going to talk a little bit about other phases of the processing tool here. So in terms of in processing, again, I talk a bit about speed here. It is patented technology that does deliver the fastest indexing in the market today. There is a question about how do we know it's the fastest. We've had clients that have used a lot of the other tools and more the common newer versions of those tools in the market and have found that they are faster. We did actually a benchmark at a client recently where they put us versus the other technology that claims to be the fastest in the market head-to-head, and we beat them by sevenfold in terms of the indexing speed. We have done benchmarks we have the data on some benchmarks on some common storage platforms that are out there, and I have some data on that if someone does request it. So again, you do hear a lot of these unaudited numbers that are out there, but we stand by our claims and are confident that these speeds exist out there. Again, the challenge is getting the data to us that fast. So to be able to hit terabyte per hour processing speeds, you need to push the data that fast. But again, if you have slower networks, having multiple crawl jobs, 10, 15, 20 crawl jobs happening in parallel, you can aggregate up across slow networks to achieve those speeds, including slow environments like hard drives and backup tapes and so on. So the ability to process data in very high speed across multiple data sources, from network data to email and backup tapes and forensic images, using a high-speed processing engine, really allows you to index data quickly, a single pass across all the sources. And again, the important point here is that if you're extracting and your client's sending you hard drives, backup tapes, and maybe some forensic images, there's a good chance that there's redundant or duplicative data on those media sources. You can set the system up so that it'll only extract a single instance of that data off any one of those sources. And you can prioritize any one source over another, so that way you'll ensure that as you're doing your identifications and collections, you're not creating duplicate data. And as data is indexed, it's also document signatures are created, so you're using an MD5 hash, so you can dedupe data downstream as well. So really the idea is speeding time to data by accelerating just the indexing process and adding a lot of intelligence that allows you to extract the responsive ESI. On the searching and culling side, it's a very intuitive user interface. I'm not doing a demo today, but if you do want a demo, happy to set one up for you. Allow you to do full content search. Again, the Octane platform is a full content and metadata indexing platform. So it's really your standard Boolean, similar proximity pattern, regex searches. Some of the advanced analytics are really more of a downstream processing capability, which is done through partnerships and other technologies. This allows you to do the initial culling and deduplication and denisting of the result sets. And also a lot of reporting is in the platform, so you can generate reports of email sender domains, receiver domains, owners, date ranges, locations, and so on. So using the interface, you can quickly point and click and filter data based on any kind of metadata criteria. So the collaboration aspect is a fairly new feature, and it's something that's very interesting for a lot of our current partners. They've been asking for this for a long time. So, as you're collecting data from online and offline sources, into a responsive data set. So you may have a responsive data set that you may want to segment out to provide to third-party professionals or specialists, or even your clients, or even third-party or outside counsel or legal teams. But you don't want them to have access to the full responsive data set. So what you can do is you can go in there and run a query within the Octane platform and generate these subsets of data. So specific subsets. Here I have 3 separate subsets represented. And what you would do is you would create these secure logins in the user profile capability of the system. And using these secure logins, these specialists could log in through the browser-based interface. Again, they could be remote, and they would have different views into the data. So here you can see 3 different views into the data, and not only different views, but they would have different access. So they would only be able to access and see what they're permissioned to see. So you can set this up very easily, and you could have quite a few people in there working off subsets of the data so that not one person would see the full responsive data set. So that really allows for extreme collaboration with your clients, with their specialists, with the legal teams that are really required to support the project. So in terms of representative workflow, this is one example of a workflow. Again, there's many different pieces and components to the Octane platform that may fit within your environment, or if you're looking for a technology refresh to refresh and update your processes and methodologies, this may be interesting for you. But this gives you a view into typically how some of our customers use our products is, they first define their collection policy. They can narrow down the scope and set specific user email addresses, date ranges, and so on. Here you see specific users like John Doe, and here they're taking care to use all possible iterations of the email aliases to ensure that it's collected accurately. You can create this query, and here you can see a view into the query language that you can use. Obviously, we've got an intuitive GUI that you can point and click and generate these queries, or you can just type them in directly if you like. And some of our clients have significantly large collection processes they're going through. One client is collecting about 175,000 custodian mailboxes, so it's quite a complex query string. So you can upload that into the system as well instead of having to retype and paste that content, but you can upload it to ensure defensibility. You can store that query, and once that query is stored, you can go out there, and this is a picture of the actual server itself. You can point to different data sources, whether it be online or even backup tapes, and as the data is scanned and indexed, in parallel, once it recognizes any content that satisfies that stored query, it'll be extracted and preserved in the archive. So you've captured that data, for further culling downstream. So all that content will be collected in a defensible manner. The original source is not required, so if you're using the on-site or the portable collection engine, you can bring it on-site, run those queries, and then again, that content will be preserved, and you can go leave the customer site and do any kind of further culling and extract the native ESI anytime you want. So culling policies, you can cull out privilege or spam email. Again, the sender domain is a report that's very commonly used and very helpful, where you can index, say you're indexing PSTs or Exchange or Notes database, and you're doing some queries. You can see who the senders are from what domain and receivers are from what domain, and you can filter them out. So if you can look for law firm emails to or from the law firm, or spam email from like CNN or from ESPN or anything like that, you could filter those out of your data set by using a single click. And you can also, this full tagging capability that's in the system. So using the tagging, you could set up, that email, like the spam email or the privileged email, and tag it so you can filter out based on those tags as well. You can then define detailed culling policies. So again, as I mentioned, we have full search capabilities like Boolean, similar proximity, pattern, regex, wildcard, and so on. You can set them up, and you can see, through the user interface, you can search on content. You can search on file properties, document properties, email properties, even backup properties. And it's comprehensive metadata as well as full text for emails and attachments to refine the data set. and then manage the data. So you can preserve it onto legal hold in an archive. There's an archive built into the Octane platform. You can extract it to native data to third-party review and analysis platforms or even third-party archives. There's also CSV reports, text file reports that could be extracted, which include all the metadata as well as the full text content as well. So if you're putting into these analytical tools that require metadata, you have full access to that. And again, a lot of automation. Again, in the demonstration, which would follow if you're interested in seeing the product in action, we can definitely arrange it. There's full automation capabilities that you can store any of these queries. You can store them, and then you can have them run on a scheduled basis. So this is what we call an action query. So you can set up a action query to run. In this case, it's running between October 19th, 2011 and October 31st, 2011 to run at 3 p.m. every day. And it's going to go and, well, it's going to start at 3 p.m. It's going to run hourly, actually. And what it's going to do is it's going to archive anything or collect, here it is, collect, execute that same query, and run that query every day. So so if you're in an environment where you're out and even having a portable engine on your customer site, you can run these collection queries to run hourly or daily and find current new data that must be reviewed. I'm not going to talk too detailed about pricing. Happy to do that on a one-on-one basis, but there's quite a few flexible pricing models. If you haven't spoken to us lately or are not interested in things like per gig pricing that other providers are delivering today, talk to us about annual subscriptions. That's really the most economical way to work with us. That's really making an annual commitment, and you'll get the most technology for your money there. There's project-based pricing, so some of our partners really want to work on project-by-project basis. And we do have a data unlock model, which is pretty unique, which is really allows you to unlock data based on user accounts. So you can actually index data, do full search across the data, although it remains locked. So you can do a keyword search or a metadata search. And then what happens is you get a listing of responsive accounts. So it could be email boxes or network accounts. And you basically pay per account to unlock them. So this allows you to really pay for data, just responsive data, not pay for everything that's been indexing. In this case, indexing is free, and you only pay for what you're unlocking. And the unlock is based on full text and metadata queries of the content you'll be presented back. Instead of a hit list of results, you'll be presented back with a list of accounts that need to be unlocked to access the hit list or the content. So again, a couple different pricing models. Our team is excited to talk to you about the details of each one of those. And again, we can set that up following today's session. So in conclusion, it's really Octane is our version 5 platform, is new. It's out in the market today. It really eliminates a lot of the processing and collection bottlenecks. Competitively priced, we really want to work with you to make you successful. If you're using other technology that is ending their contracts or ending their relationships you're not happy with, we'd be happy to come in and do some proof of concepts to show you how this technology works and goes head-to-head against other platforms, especially if you're concerned about speed. I know one of the questions was, the terabyte per hour speed. If you do have other platforms in place, we're happy to go in there and process the same data sets and do some bake-offs to show you how not all technology is the same, and the speed matters, that this is the fastest platform on the market. A lot of the projects we do are large-scale jobs, not to say we don't do a lot of the smaller jobs out there. We have clients that are using us for everything that they do, and they see projects that are in the terabytes, they see projects that are in gigabytes, and they get a lot of the power out of the engine, whether it's large or small. Because it's a very intuitive interface, the goal is really to support the collaborative environment, make things fast and easy for you, and really accelerate your time to data to make sure that you can get through your jobs and your projects as quickly, as efficiently as possible. Okay, so if you do have any other questions, feel free to send them. My email address is there. If you want to see a demonstration, we're happy to do that. We didn't really have a lot of time today to do a demonstration, but we'd be happy to set up a one-on-one. We have a team of people that will be at the ILTA conference. We're actually not exhibiting. We're just doing one-on-one meetings at the conference. So if you are attending ILTA in Las Vegas in a couple weeks, it's actually pretty soon, feel free to reach out to me and I can connect you with the right people to set up some meetings out there. If you have others that are attending, we'd be happy to coordinate with them as well. Again, so thanks for your time today. Appreciate it. And if you do have any further questions, my email address is there. Feel free to reach out to us, and we'd be happy to address them at any time. Again, thanks for your time, and we look forward to speaking with you.